Trent Williams spoke today. I think a lot of Niner fans were expecting that it was just a done deal that he was going to come back to the Niners, but he said an interesting comment. He said that a franchise left tackle has never really hit the free agent market. And he's curious to see what would happen if one did, how he is a franchise left tackle. It sounds like while he likes the 49ers and would entertain the idea of coming back, he wants to hit the free agent market. What does that mean to you, Vish?
So I actually interpreted that totally different. To me, he sounded like a guy that was putting pressure on the 49ers. Yeah, I'm willing to come back, but I'm not going to come back on a bargain. You're going to have to pay me the premium to get me.
Right.
And
exactly.
That makes sense to me. We're talking about a guy who is a franchise left tackle. He's a Hall of Fame level left tackle. Yeah. He's a once-in-a-generation guy. I mean, when I was younger, Seattle had that guy, Walter Jones. He's that level of player. And he's been consistently that level of player besides the couple years he's missed in his career. And I totally understand where he's coming from. And I think for the 49ers, David Bakhtiari just signed an extension with the Green Bay Packers. It was north of $20 million. And I think that's what they're going to have to pay to bring Trent Williams back, which sounds daunting, but you got to pay what you got to pay to get a player like that.
Right. So what he's saying is like, look, I like you guys. I would be willing to come back, but don't think I'm going to sign for like drastically under market value, some type of hometown discount. This isn't his hometown. And I don't think he would do that for anyone. I think he wants to get close to what he's worth, which is what everyone wants. And I think the Niners are going to have to give it to him.
Yeah, he's 32 years old. This is his last big window to make whatever amount of money he can. And, you know, I never fault a player because in your job, would you take less to do something that you're very good at? So it's like, I understand the winning and all of it, and I'm sure he wants to win. Like, I don't understand when people say, well, he doesn't want to win because he won't take less money. Yeah, he wants to win, but he wants to be paid what he's worth too, just like any other person who does a job. So I totally get it. And I think that he's basically just trying to capitalize on his last big opportunity to make money. I think that was his entire mindset. That's why he backed himself with the 49ers when they did that original reconstruction. He put in the clause that they can't franchise tag him because he was confident that he was going to make the premium in the market, and he was confident that he would force the 49ers hand because he backed himself knowing that this is the kind of season he was going to have.
Yeah, if you remember, when the Niners got him, they traded a third-round pick for him. And everyone said it's the acquisition of the century. I mean, that's a Hall of Fame player. To get him for a third-round pick is stealing. And my point at the time was, yeah, that's true. That is true. But he's only cheap now. He's going to be very expensive down the line, as in next offseason, this coming offseason. And when the Niners did that, I don't know what you would call it, but when they agreed to not franchise tag him, I guess there was like a show of good faith. Hey, you know, we want to be on the same side as you. We don't want any bad feelings. But at the same time, they set this up. So I'm sure they're prepared, but this is going to have to be, they don't have a choice. Whatever Trent Williams wants, they have to give because they don't have a backup plan here.
Right.
And so keep going.
He Niner Wire said it in the comments. He's the most important player they have to sign. He's one of those players that when they talked about this core group foundational piece, Trent Williams is the definition of a foundational piece for a franchise. He plays a premium position, one, and then two, he plays that premium position at an extremely high level. So that's the definition of being a foundational piece.
And three, his backup is Justin School.
Right. Or Sean Coleman when he comes back, who is, in my opinion, better than School. He hasn't gotten the game opportunities yet. But that's way besides the point because they need him. They need consistency in their offensive line. You know, Laken Tomlinson is going to be a free agent in 2022. He's a pretty solid player. He's probably going to get a starter level salary somewhere if the Niners don't give it to him. They're probably going to pick up Mike McGlinchey's fifth-year option because whatever you think of Mike McGlinchey, whatever I think of Mike McGlinchey, he's a very good run blocker who fits their scheme, and he's a draft pick that they frankly can't be wrong about. They messed up on Solomon Thomas. They messed up on Reuben Foster. They have to be, as a regime, to put on their resume right about Mike McGlinchey. So even if his run blocking wasn't at this level, I think they would have taken his fifth-year option because he's an offensive lineman. And you can always hope that an offensive lineman improves the way Garrett Bowles improved for the Denver Broncos. So I get that. So that means they need that level of consistency. The center is kind of a revolving door. The right guard position has been a revolving door. They need Trent Williams. They need him.
I do. They do. And what's interesting about it is he's going to be very expensive. He's going to name their price and they're going to pay it. And that's what's going to happen. He's going to be on this team next year, I would imagine. They just can't afford to not pay him whatever he wants. Interesting is, in retrospect, maybe Trent Williams will just have an amazing next 5 years for the Niners. It's possible. He's a hell of a player. But the cheaper option, it didn't seem cheaper at the time because you'd have to spend a first-round pick on it, but would have been to get Tristan Wirfs. It's expensive in draft capital, but then you get him in the rookie deal. So that's going to be something to at least keep in mind the next few years, just comparing Trent Williams to Tristan Wirfs.
Question is with Wirfs, were they convinced whether he was going to be a left tackle? And that's $1 million question, because
that's why he fell.
Right. That's because most people in the draft felt that Wills, Thomas, and Becton, all three, could play left tackle. They weren't sure about Wirfs.
And Wirfs plays right tackle now.
Right. Yeah. So that was the question with him. The thing I will say, and reason Trent Williams is even more of a name that price, this isn't like a Buckner situation where you can draft a Javon Kinlaw who has special physical traits and replace him. Trent Williams comes around in the draft once every 10 years, once every 20 years. Like the level of prospect he was in 2010, I think Laramie Tunsil is the only left tackle I can really remember that people regarded at that level, where when you compare his athleticism, his production, his consistency. So, maybe a couple of them from last year, I thought Jedrick Wills was fantastic. But, left tackles aren't like, you don't get Jonathan Ogden, Trent Williams, Orlando Pace coming out in the draft every year. So they can't look to just trade him. It's just, I just don't get it. It's got to be Trent Williams. It's got to be name his price and go, which is really a difficult situation to be in.
Niner Bot says Vish looks like a discount Mariota. I disagree. He looks like Mariota looks like a discount Vish. That's what I
agree.
Vish's stock is up. Mariota's stock is down. Get out of here. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all right. That's good. That's a good discussion on Trent Williams. It seems like the Niners painted themselves into a corner here, and if it works out, great. Though the thing is, when you said about he's rare, he is rare. Wirfs physically is rare too. I don't know what it is about him that people decided he can't play left tackle, but he runs a 4.8. He's got all of the rare physical attributes for a big guy like Trent Williams. I don't know what it is. I think he's going to make it to the left side eventually, the way that McGlinchey won't.
When he came out in the draft, and I don't think that's actually even a thing with him now, because he's been fantastic. Like, he's been special as a rookie, like really special. But when he came out in the draft, people didn't think he was explosive enough out of his stance to play left tackle. So he is athletic, right? He runs 40 yards really fast. He jumps real far and everything. But in terms of getting explosive out of your stance and setting yourself up, because Von Miller comes off the ball like this and beats you. That's how Brian Burns beats you. People weren't sure if he was that guy. I think he might have answered those questions this year. He's fantastic. He might have played like an all-pro this year, to be honest.
And the final point real quick that the Niners always made about Mike McGlinchey, when they said it doesn't matter that he's not a left tackle. Right tackle is important too. There's truth to that. Right tackles have to hold up on an island in pass protection as well. And Wirfs can. McGlinchey really can't. And the age of having that runs blocking specialist right tackle is a little antiquated. It's very much an open formation league with a tight end flexed out or in the backfield. So he does what he does very well, but he's a little bit like a box safety or like a big thumping middle linebacker. He's almost he doesn't exist anymore in the league.
It's for offensive linemen in general. Like, we talk about how much, I think we beat it to death because it's true, right? The quarterback, how much it's limiting Kyle, how much it's limiting the scheme. Well, having a offensive line that needs to be protected scheme-wise and pass protection also limits what he can do. Yes. He has to protect them every game with their pass protection. It's not like they can just drop back 15 times in a row in a game with this offensive line. This is a primarily run blocking offensive line, and they do a very good job at it. And they do good in pass pro when you are able to run the ball, you're able to get the play action going and have the drop back game from there where you're limiting their reps. Kyle's able to do a couple creative things to protect them. But if you're not doing it that way and you're just making them drop back 50 times a game, well, they're going to struggle. And I think that's where maybe the process of Niners looking at offensive linemen, maybe that thinking itself needs to evolve.